I ain't gonna lie. That shit sounds great. And I'll go anywhere with you, but I'm always gonna come back here. You gotta know that about me by now, right? These streets are where I belong.
I know.
Now, what would make Tommy Egan consider leaving the game behind? This was a topic I raised back in October 2023, and it was straight after Tommy had the hallucination scene with none other than Holly Weaver. It was the first time we saw Holly on Power since we saw arguably Tommy Egan's biggest kill on Power. Although on his biggest kill, I do think some may disagree. After all, Tommy has a very long kill list. But nevertheless, I personally do think it is the biggest, not only because of the impact it had on Tommy back in Power, but how it still continues to haunt him, and how it could also shape his future. So, we are going to be revisiting this thread I made over on X over a year ago, because towards the end, I did drop a little prediction, something that could potentially make Tommy consider an alternate life beyond the drug game, and I do think it could genuinely be a possibility and a new angle that Gary Lennon and the writers could explore, Tommy having a baby with Maria Garcia. So, in this breakdown, we're going to be running through the character arc of Tommy Egan, specifically related to his love for the drug game, how he's also been a sucker for love, the impact of Holly Weaver and also the hallucination scene, his love for Maria Garcia, and how in my opinion they've left major clues and foreshadows for something to completely shift Tommy Egan's future, not just in 4 Season 3, but also beyond. Now, we've seen Tommy on our screens on the Power scene for over 10 years. It's crazy when you think about how far we come with Tommy's character, and it's also no surprise as to why he's a Power fan favourite. I think the only kill that we probably may disagree with was Joe Proctor, but he's a character that has always stayed consistent in terms of his mentality and also what he wants.
You mean we grow up, go legit, live happily ever after? We've been hustling together our whole lives. I love this shit.
Tommy has always had his eyes set on the biggest prize, being the biggest goddamn drug dealer that he can become. He never wanted to sell for anything less, even when Ghost gave him a way out of the game in terms of a legit empire. Even though Ghost tried to convince Tommy of how Club Truth and a chain of clubs could be their retirement plan, Tommy was never on board. In essence, his mentality when it came to the streets is very similar to Kane and Stark. He genuinely is street through and through because that's all he's ever known. I do think Power Origins will give us a good idea as to why Tommy was the way he was back in Power. I do think a lot of Tommy's traits come from the mentorship and guidance under Kanan and Breeze, but that is something I'm sure we'll kind of touch on closer to Power Origins. Back in Power, Tommy always wanted more. He always wanted to run a drug empire his way, build, and be the biggest drug dealer he could be. Along the way, he'd also have to fight to get the respect he felt as if he deserved, especially from Ghost, who never really had the full trust in Tommy when it came to their drug operation. Fast forward a few seasons, as Tommy made his way to Chicago after the death of Ghost, he realized there was an opportunity. Instead of meeting Rodolfo out in LA, he decided to stay put in Chicago and build his own empire, where he went toe-to-toe with the Flynns, the Serbs, at one point the CBI, and most recently the Mexicans, led by Miguel Garcia. That's something that would probably definitely continue into 4 Season 3. But throughout, his mentality and ambition has always remained the same. He looked at the map of Chicago and thought, I want it all. He was never just happy settling for a small portion of Chicago. No matter what was in his way, even though Walter Flynn tried to push him out of Chicago in Season 1, he always had ambitions of being bigger.
I want the whole fucking map.
Now, just to pause on Tommy's mentality of wanting to take over the drug trade for a moment, we have to talk about how Tommy's always been a sucker for love. Now, I do think this stems from a few factors. You look at the relationship that Tommy has with his mother Kate Egan. You look at what they've teased in terms of his backstory and the lack of love that he had in his childhood, how he had to fend for himself, how he lacked a real motherly presence and also a father figure when he was younger. Again, something I definitely think they'll explore more of in Power Origins. I do think that plays a part in why Tommy's always been a sucker for love. He's always been attracted to those who give him a sense of belonging, those who give him a purpose, and those who come from a similar background. For example, Holly Weaver. So, is it a surprise after Holly he sparked a romance with Lakeisha? When we caught up with Tommy in Chicago, were we surprised that he sparked a romance with Gloria? Was it a surprise that he then fell for Maria Garcia? Where there's Tommy Egan, you can always guarantee one thing, he will always find love. Even for someone as ruthless as Tommy, he still has a very big heart for love and also for family. Now, the relationship with Maria didn't come with its complications, that's for sure. Being the sister of a Mexican drug dealer that Tommy was supposed to be working with came with its challenges. However, When Tommy has his eyes on someone, we always know it's just a matter of time, and that also proved to be the case with Maria. They sparked a romance in 4 Season 2, but more importantly, in my opinion, they also left huge foreshadows and clues to potentially what could be in store for their future.
See the way you be eyeing them little ones?
What about you?
I don't think they're in the cards for me.
They did speak a little about kids, and even though Tommy said he didn't think he saw any for himself in the future, I think I have to disagree. I can definitely see this being a big part of Tommy's future, that's for sure. And this is where I want to take it back to the thread from October 2023. I think the hallucination scene with Holly also left a bunch of clues. I do think another clue lay in the baby bump that Tommy slowly kind of reached out to touch. Amidst their love and betrayal, there was a profound tragedy Tommy couldn't escape. He unknowingly killed his unborn child when he strangled Holly. This devastating secret haunted him and became the epicenter of this hallucination. In that hallucination, Tommy reached out to touch Holly's baby bump, and this moment was laden with symbolism. It was as if he was trying to connect with the child he had unknowingly taken. The guilt and sorrow he felt were palpable. Many question, why Holly and not Lakeisha or Ghost? Simply put, Tommy's love for Holly and her being pregnant was the reason why he loved Lakeisha and cared for Cash even more. It was his opportunity to do right by his new family. Holly also warned Tommy that he couldn't live a double life of love and also crime. Her words echoed in his mind during that hallucination. She was right. For Tommy, love is both his sanctuary and also his weakness, and therefore, could Maria pay the ultimate price? Throughout Power, we witness a recurring theme. Tommy's love for others often led to their suffering, whether it was Holly, Lakeisha, or even Ghost. Those he cared for often ended up hurt, or even worse. His pursuit of power always came at a cost. In the criminal world, everybody lives a double life, but for Tommy, this duality is especially agonizing. Love and the game are in constant conflict, tearing at his soul. Holly was a poignant reminder of the consequences of this dual existence. Tommy Egan's hallucination of Holly Weaver was a window into the intricate web of emotions that evolved his character. Love, guilt, and loss all swirled together, painting a picture of a man haunted by his past and also torn by his future desires. Now here comes a fun part in what I believe could be Tommy Egan's future. Theory. The prospect of fatherhood could be a powerful motivator for Tommy to reconsider his choices. If he were to have a child with Maria, it may force him to confront the harsh reality that his criminal lifestyle that could put his own child in danger. His love for Holly, tainted by the tragedy of their unborn child, was a haunting reminder of the pain his choices has caused. If he were to find himself in a similar situation with Maria, it may be the catalyst that finally pushes him to seek redemption and also escape from the criminal world. And I ended the thread by kind of mentioning it is just a hypothetical scenario that could be the catalyst for Tommy to consider leaving the drug game behind. The one world which has been his life for so long. Only then would it make sense for Tommy to see his brother again, and by that I meant in a hallucination. Now in the thread I also go into a lot more detail into his relationship with Holly Weaver, but the specific points I picked in regards to how and why a baby with Maria would be a game changer, because this is the only factor I think would ultimately make Tommy think of leaving the drug game behind. For the first time, he'd have a real decision on his hands in regards to whether he wants to protect, provide, and care for his family, or is he street through and through? And that's something we haven't really seen from Tommy's character arc, him being in a position where he has to choose between his family or the game. And I do think that's something they have to explore with Tommy's character arc before it kind of ends. And I really do think it is a possibility for Season 3 and beyond. Tommy and Maria were in bed a hell of a lot in Season 3, and with her being kidnapped by Miguel Garcia, what are the chances she returns with a baby bump? Or, when and if she returns, she tells Tommy she's pregnant. I do think it's a storyline that would really give Tommy's character arc a huge challenge and also a huge dilemma. Something similar to what we saw with Tariq in Ghost, but on a bigger scale because of who Tommy is. I do think he'd be really proud. I think he'd relish the fact that he has a second chance after what happened with Holly Weaver and his previous unborn baby. But, as I mentioned, it would prove to be an extreme challenge, especially because of the world that he's in. Would he then consider an alternate path? The path that in essence Ghost wanted to go down ever since the beginning of Power. Could he actually come around to the idea and vision of Ghost back in Season 1 of Power? It would actually be quite ironic, and it also doesn't seem too far-fetched and beyond the realms of possibility. Now, in terms of Season 3, does Maria even survive? Because we all know what's happened to all of Tommy's previous love interests, including Gloria. This is where I do hope the Power writers kind of throw us something new. I do hope they don't go with the same storyline they did with Diana and their unborn baby in Ghost Season 4 if Maria were to be pregnant. It's really going to be interesting to see what happens come the end of Force Season 3, because they do know it is the final season. They know Tommy's off to wherever he's off to, but does that also include characters like Maria Garcia, and also possibly her and Tommy's baby? It's definitely something to keep in mind. In terms of Beyond, we all know Tommy's chapter is coming to an end in Chicago. Whether his future includes a storyline with Tariq, that is the most popular theory at this moment in time, and if it does turn out to be true, there is a lot that they have in common in terms of losing loved ones and also unborn babies. It really would be intriguing to see which direction they take Tommy's character arc beyond Force, and whether that could actually be his final chapter. But again, that's definitely a topic I'm sure we kind of touch on in the future. So that's a breakdown of a theory and a prediction heading into Force Season 3 in regards to how Maria being pregnant could be the ultimate game changer for Tommy's character arc. With that being said, the floor is now yours. In a hypothetical scenario, if Maria were to be pregnant, how would this change Tommy Egan? Drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.